Hello, hello, and welcome to this week's edition, the Extreme Rules Go Home edition, as it were, of the Bilgecast Wrestling Podcast. I'm Ollie Johnson, I'm here with Sam Congrave. How you doing, Sam?
Yo.
Ian is not with us at the moment, he will hopefully be joining us soon. It can't possibly be much longer, surely.
We'll see.
That sounded a bit passive-aggressive, I didn't mean it to. Anyway, Ian will hopefully be joining us soon. And, Christ, Raw was a bit shit, wasn't it?
I think that's being generous. To be fair, Ollie, calling raw shit would be a nicety.
Yeah. I remember very little about Raw, apart from, to be fair, the decent AJ Styles Ricochet feud that seems to be happening, and the nonsensical way in which it ended. In that there was a big show of them being bamboozled by Cedric Alexander, and them getting angry about that after they'd already beaten him. And of course, Shane cocking McMahon was in the main event. But yeah, other than that, what actually happened on Raw? Because
They continued. They continued the whole Seth Rollins storyline where him and Becky are having a whole thing with Baron Corbin, and they don't care, to be honest.
they're a couple, you know.
Oh yeah, I know. They've made a new T-shirt for Seth. Did you know?
I didn't know that. What was it? Is it Becky's wife?
It just says it says the man's man.
Well, basically, yeah.
Without William Regal here, though, I don't know his take on the whole thing.
Well, he was the real man's man.
Yeah, he's the real man's man.
He's a man.
Such a man. But yeah, there's been nothing else really happened on Raw that was worth noting, because there was no 24/7 thing much. There wasn't really much in terms of of anything really worth noting. It was just throwaway matches.
Yeah.
All the matches were just throwaways, or people who had been in feuds a week ago but just thrown together randomly. I can't even remember who the tag team champs are on Raw anymore. I think it's the Revival.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the Revival, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we had a bit more of the Club versus Ricochet. That's
cool. That's a highlight for me. I'm liking that.
We had Joe continuing his whole thing with Kofi Kingston, which I'm completely behind.
That's technically a SmackDown feud, but I like it. It's another high point.
Yeah, but Joe's a Raw superstar. That's the thing.
Oh yeah. Well, that's spoiled the results of the match, hasn't it? Should I also mention that this is a predictions podcast? We've got to predict the results of a pay-per-view tonight. I'm hoping Ian at least gets here in time for that. Well, we can get his predictions from him, like, off the air if need be.
Yeah, well, thing is, nothing happened really on Raw that was worth noting. That's the problem. Everything major happened on SmackDown, which ironically was when Vince wasn't actually there.
I think that's probably why, I mentioned this shortly before we came on it. WWE seems to have a whole Warner Brothers type thing in that the more the powers that be care about something, the less likely it is to be good. Like how Warner Brothers micromanaged the DCEU so much that, the fact that Wonder Woman was as good as it was a miracle. But generally speaking, they micromanage the live action movies to be kind of shitty because they're a tonal mess. But then when the animated division gets going, they're all hands off because they don't care. And they end up good more often than not. Because, yeah. And I think the point I'm labouring to make is that I think a similar thing is going on here. is that...
Ollie, you there?
Oh, can you not hear me?
I can now.
Yeah. The point I was labouring to make is I think a similar thing is going on with WWE, in that because Vince is evidently a bit more hands off with SmackDown, which was really good this week, by the way, I thought. It turns out good more often than not because, like, there's not as much micromanagement.
That's true.
We're technically into the Heyman and Bischoff era of Raw and SmackDown, respectively. So I was very pleasantly surprised with how good SmackDown was. Like, I I don't know what to think of Eric Bischoff as a booker because like all I've seen of him that I've been around for is his time in TNA, and
I've been through his WCW and his TNA time, and quite frankly, usually Bischoff is good for a little while. At least in WCW, he was good for a little while, but the problem is he was a one-trick pony. That was overall the problem. That was overall the problem with Eric Bischoff in general.
So how long until Shane McMahon enlists a massive faction of like half the roster to take over the show?
I give it a few weeks.
It's gonna happen, isn't it?
Well, maybe. I mean, all I know about the Kevin Owens situation is that they knew Vince wasn't going to be there, and they knew that Kevin and apparently he has a lot of people on the writing team who like him.
Yeah.
So he got a free pat. He got an extra push this on SmackDown.
Isn't it depressing that things get better when the boss like doesn't care?
Vince needs to get out of his own way, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't disagree there. But yeah, the Kevin Owens promo at the beginning, my least favourite thing about it was Shane. I kind of think he should have played up the anger a bit more if he had to be there at all. But it didn't detract too much from it. It was still a really good promo. Yeah. Him being attacked by Dolph Ziggler came a bit... Yeah. It's like, are they feuding now? Is he pissed off with that? What's actually happening there? I think he's still feuding with Dolph Ziggler, though, isn't he, for the time being?
He is. The thing is, he is for a time being, yeah. But nothing is really coming of it.
Yeah, well, they're setting him up for something bigger afterwards, which is the main thing, I think.
They're CM Punking him.
Yeah, and to be fair, I can think of few better examples of people you could do that with. Kevin Owens is a terrific talker.
Kevin Owens is a great heel. I'll throw that out. But let's face it, he need him as a face at this point.
Well,
I think they could do. I think they could do. I think they could make it work. That's the thing, because the problem I have with the promo overall, the only complaint I have against it is it's clearly scripted.
Yeah.
But it's acknowledgement that they know that what they're doing is terrible, because they know that people hate Shane McMahon. They know that the whole I'm the best in the world thing is just pissing people, just pissing people off in general.
Yeah, well, I stand by what I said before, and I'll say it again. If the rumor is true, and Shane McMahon does soon win the WWE title from Kofi Kingston, I'm done.
Yeah.
And the Bilgecast wrestling podcast will be on indefinite hiatus until AEW starts up. So I guess it'll be a few month hiatus.
We'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of AEW, Pac is confirmed to...
I told you it was a work.
I'm not sure it was a work. I think there were a load of scheduling conflicts that meant he couldn't guarantee anything, is what I've heard. But it appears that those have cleared up now, so...
Well, it's coming back, and that's the important part.
Yeah, yeah. I've also heard some news that might. It baffles me, to be honest. At a house show of all things in, I forget the city name, but Alabama, WWE are announcing a first time ever stipulation, which is a glass casket match.
I have no word for that. That just sounds like the stupidest goddamn thing I've ever seen. I've ever
It
heard.
does smack a bit of throwing anything at the wall and hoping it sticks, but I'm intrigued by the concept. How is it going to differ from a regular casket match? Is it
I
just that
don't.
the casket is made of glass, or is there some rule change?
I don't know. But the thing is, nothing of. I think we can agree. Nothing of major happened Raw for a go home show. This was terrible.
Yes, this is true.
For SmackDown, however, Kevin Owens was the star of SmackDown, no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
With everything else that was thrown out this week,
Yeah.
his whole thing ripping Shane McMahon, ripping the company, and everything else. Yeah, it's to be
I
honest,
am
it does
very
reek of
on board
desperation.
with Kevin Owens right now. I do still love what they're doing with Kofi's title reign. I mean, it hasn't been as good as it might have been. Like,
It hasn't really reached its peak yet.
he hasn't had the title reign he deserves, or the one he should have had just with all the things that have happened that on paper should have been better than they were. And that's due to unfortunate circumstances beyond his control more than anything. Saudi Arabia, cough cough. But, um, oh, sorry, I've blanked. I was going somewhere with this. Yeah, I really like what they're doing. I think Samoa Joe is a great opponent for him, and they're building it very well. I think,
I think, yeah, I think that the Samoa Joe. It's good to have someone who was a mid carder work with other people who were always seen as mid carders as well. It's where you can get some of the best feuds, oddly enough.
yeah, but I gotta say, well, I've said this before. I don't know if I've said it on the podcast. I'm a little concerned about Joe after this because I don't think he's gonna win. That's my prediction there
No.
in advance, by the way. I don't think he's going to win, but I also think he's been built up as a threat to the main event slot and then knocked back. Like, this might be one too many times, assuming it goes this way again. So I wouldn't want it to damage him if he lost.
Well,
But,
apparently there's backstage frustration as well with how the WWE is treating Finn Balor. The guy's the Intercontinental Champion. He's barely shown on television. And the one time he was shown on television this week.
oh, by the way, he had a phenomenal match with Shinsuke Nakamura for the. It wasn't for the title, but, you know, the champion was on TV, and Shinsuke Nakamura as well, who is like, he hasn't even been on TV recently, and it's Shinsuke Nakamura. It's like, if you ever needed evidence that they don't know what they have, just look at how they treat Shinsuke and Rusev. And basically, a lot of NXT call-ups, really. Speaking of whom, we actually saw Asuka and Kairi Sane this week. Although,
I mean, they're mainly doing things on the live shows. Oddly enough,
well, speaking of whom, I meant speaking of NXT call-ups. Yeah. Please don't ruin Kairi Sane, and please unruin Asuka.
the thing is, recently, I'm just going to throw this out there. Brian Zane recently did a "Who was the best champion" thing between Asuka and Nia Jax. And sadly, he ranked it that Nia Jax had the better run as champion. I disagree completely, mainly due to the fact that Asuka was basically Asuka's entire thing was the winning streak when she came up from NXT.
Yeah.
She had her undefeated streak. They didn't give her the championship when they really should have. They let Charlotte beat her.
Yeah.
Then she did basically next to nothing for a while, where she'd try and get the championship, but it would be screwed out. She'd be screwed over constantly by James Ellsworth.
Yeah.
Then she won the championship, and then they took it off a week before WrestleMania just to give it to Charlotte.
Yeah.
And at the moment, doing her Kabuki Warriors thing, which I still think is ridiculous, but that's all she's got. Whereas Nia Jax,
Well, the name is ridiculous. You mean?
Yeah, Nia Jax basically won her match at WrestleMania, which apparently gave her a point in Brian Zane's eyes, and the fact that she lost it in a match that took 2 people to beat her down in order to take it from her. Whereupon she then spent her time injuring other people and getting herself injured at WrestleMania. But apparently that meant she was a better champion. But the thing is, the difference is that Asuka much more was expected of her, whereas all Nia Jax was just an obstacle. She was someone to just hold the title and nothing else.
Yeah. Now, I would be in agreement that I think Asuka made a better champion.
I feel Asuka and Kairi need to win the tag team titles when it happens, purely because the Iconics have never defended it, granted, and they do make a point that they won the titles accidentally. In that way, I told you they would. I am still holding that up against everybody that I predicted exactly how they would win.
Yeah, I know.
That's the weird part, and I was like only half kidding.
Yeah. But...
Yeah, I was half kidding. I didn't actually expect them to actually do that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of NXT call-ups haven't been as over as I feel like they should be, and I think a lot of that is down to how they are managed once they are called up. But I think we have also got to accept that the audience of NXT and the main roster audience aren't necessarily the same audience.
They aren't.
Yeah.
The thing is, the Raw and SmackDown.
A lot of the main roster audience just wouldn't have watched NXT. It's a much larger one.
Well, the thing is, WWE doesn't make it an effort to advertise it, really.
Yeah. It's like Raw happens, and maybe they'll pay some lip service to SmackDown, but beyond that, they just don't give a shit. They won't promote any of their... And it's their own products. You know...
Yeah, that's the part that perplexes me.
Surely they would want all of them to do well.
Well, all of them... The thing is that NXT is the birthplace for a lot of their stars at this point. So you'd think so, but they just don't want any time. They just don't want to give it the time of goddamn day.
Well, I watched something you might find interesting. Jim Sterling and Simon Miller did a wrestling podcast together not too long ago. And well, some of the stuff they said there rang pretty true. Firstly, that Vince McMahon not only doesn't watch any other wrestling than WWE, he doesn't watch any other thing than WWE. So his own stuff is basically his entire entertainment circle. Which would explain a lot, to be fair.
Well, the thing is that Roddy Piper, I've said this before, but Roddy Piper made a point to Vince's face at one point, where he pretty much said, here's literally how your career has worked. You tried to make movies and you failed. You tried to make music, get involved in the music business effectively, and you failed. You've tried everything you possibly can. Reality television. You have tried every single thing since you got the WWE and failed miserably. And the depressing part is that the only thing you ever succeeded at in your career, in your entire life, was literally, the company that your daddy gave you.
Well, that's to be fair, he didn't give it to him. Vince had to, Vince had to fight tooth and nail to get it. Let's not take that away from him.
But but then again, we also know that according to what we've been told now, if Vince Senior had known what Vince Junior was going to do, he wouldn't have actually sold it to him.
Yeah, Vince himself has said as much.
Yeah, he knows his dad wouldn't have sold him the company if he'd known what he was going to do.
Yeah.
Depressing as it is, but moving back onto SmackDown. Vince apparently did the entire approval process over the phone this week.
I hope he's hands off a bit more because, look, I don't want to. I know it's the popular thing to attribute all of WWE's problems to Vince McMahon, and when he's that heavily involved, I can see why you would. But
he micromanages literally everything, and everything has to, pass through him.
yeah, I just think the product will evolve more organically if more than one person has the final say, as it were. Because I have heard that it's come out of WWE's company that you shouldn't rag on the creative team because they are actually very talented and creative individuals. It's just that they are writing for an audience of one, and that one is fucking crazy. I'm paraphrasing here, but that was the gist of what I heard.
Yeah, I know everything. I know that the truth is everything has to go through Vince, and what Vince wants isn't always what's good for the company.
Yeah. And he doesn't seem able, or he doesn't seem to care about separating what he wants to see from what his audience wants to see. And he does know what his audience wants to see because he takes a great deal of pleasure, seemingly, in denying them. Like trolling them with Shane recently.
Yeah, the Shane thing. Shane has always been a troll in some capacity. I mean, I always hated.
I have heard he was the best of the McMahons to work for. Like, as far as McMahons went, he was the normal one.
Oh yeah, he was the best one to work for by a landslide. The problem is that when he was involved in things, Shane has the wrestling ability of a slug.
Oh yeah, I've ragged on his work punches no end of times.
But seriously, one of the things I always hated about, say, I hate to go back to this thing, and it's something that I really think should discuss on a longer podcast together. Yeah. The invasion angle.
Yeah, that's
one of the things I hated was that the final match of the invasion storyline was the WCW and ECW alliance versus WWE, the WWF, and Shane McMahon was in that match. And basically, every time someone went for a pinfall, he always came in, stomped on the thing to break up the pin, and did that stupid dance out of the ring. And it was so overdone. And eventually, he got a pin, but it took literally every single person on his team doing their finisher to the Big Show for Shane to pin him.
Yeah,
that was the ultimate. That was the ultimate thing for Shane. Eventually. Then, of course, there's his whole thing with X-Pac, where basically X-Pac out-wrestled him, and he only won because he got interference from the Mean Street Posse and Triple H to help him win. So Shane's never really been booked strong, per se. He just likes to jump off things a lot.
Yeah, and, like... and again, I've also heard it said, these aren't my words, that Vince doesn't understand nuance, so it makes sense that he doesn't really... He either doesn't understand or doesn't acknowledge the difference between heel heat and go home heat. If you get me.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah. Between boo, I want to see you get your ass kicked, and boo, I just want you to go away.
Yeah, a lot of wrestlers have a problem. Don't seem to understand that. I mean, Kurt Angle doesn't understand that. With Baron Corbin, he just thinks people are booing him because he's a great heel. And it's like, no, they really just don't want to see him.
Now, to be absolutely fair, I think if Kevin Owens is the one to end the whole Shane thing, it could be sort of close to being worth it. If, like, just because Kevin Owens is so good at what he does, he could make it a big moment. But it's taken too long to get to it, in my opinion. And that's another thing that WWE has a problem with, and I've mentioned this on this podcast before, is taking too long to capitalise on something.
Asuka's a perfect example of that.
On that Simon Miller, Jim Sterling podcast, Jim actually had an analogy for this. He said, if you've got a balloon, right, and you're filling it up automatically, you've got to pop it at the right time for it to be satisfying. If you do it too soon, it's not really remarkable, but if you leave it too long, the balloon will rupture and just deflate in a disappointing fart. And it's like, I think that's a really good analogy.
But again,
well, for knowing when to pull the trigger on a wrestling angle.
Yeah, but for SmackDown, really, Kevin Owens' bit was easily the best part of SmackDown. The fact that they're advertising it and they're showing it on their Facebook feed shows you that it's all like it was all planned and this is an angle they're going with.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's true though. It means they're acknowledging that no one wants to see this stuff.
Yeah.
No one wants Shane on television, and nothing really.
Lampshading is
changed.
fine, but it doesn't address the problem.
The thing is, nothing has ultimately changed, and it's exactly what everyone said when the McMahons came out and said there was going to be change to the show. Nothing has changed. We've got the same crap that was happening before, though now apparently everybody can literally just do what they want now, which, is annoying. Yeah, wrestlers can just say and do anything they want.
Yeah. Well, because
Baron Corbin is booking his own matches now.
Yeah, and his storyline justification for this is, I have some experience as a general manager. I have some experience as someone who could walk, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna.
Yeah, or that you should try. But the point is that Kevin Owens was the best part on SmackDown, if only for the fact that the Shane McMahon stuff is dying off. And quite frankly, I am not looking forward to the match with him, Drew, because at the end of the day, it's dragging Drew, who is main event level talent,
Drew is fantastic.
through the goddamn mud.
Yeah. One of these days,
I know you're gonna say...
one of these days for the podcast, I'm going to find that footage of me almost getting headbutted by the man at that WCPW Leicester show, and put that on here, because like every time we talk about Drew McIntyre, I find myself remembering that and getting nostalgic for a time that I almost got headbutted.
Well,
who
could blame
by who, let's be honest, is a giant of a man.
Yeah.
WWE's TV angle, like, WWE TV doesn't do justice to how big some of these wrestlers are, because, like, do you remember that one, the first live show we went to, that Raw house show, just after William Regal won the Intercontinental title? I was taken aback by how big Santino Marella was. It was like, he did not look that big on TV. Yeah. And it's like, and that's one of the small guys. Yeah.
Yeah, as shit as he is.
I thought, like, as a goofy heel, he was very entertaining. Well, I'm mostly basing this on his run as Intercontinental Champion with the honker meter.
Yes, that the literal biggest thing he ever did.
Yeah. I mean, it was a riot at the time, though.
Yeah, but let's face it. In the end of the day, his legacy is he was a goofball jobber guy.
There's nothing wrong with that if you make it your own. But
no. Well, I guess
we all have our place,
again,
but
and his place was at the bottom. I mean, I also think he's a prick in real life as well. But
I have heard that. I've mostly heard it from Jim Cornette. But, I have no reason to doubt the word of Jim Cornette.
I've seen the video of the recent, the thing last year where Santino was trying to start a problem. Where he was trying to create drama because, he was the only person at the convention who wasn't a wrestling legend. He was just there because someone else couldn't make it.
Oh, then he tried that's got a sting.
Well, yeah, then he tried to start an issue with Jim Cornette because Jim wouldn't shake his hand. Well, Jim shook his hand, and Jim pretty much said, "Look, I'm not your friend. I don't like you. I've never liked you. I don't respect you."
Jim's a very blunt guy. You should anyone should know this.
Well, it's the fact that he wanted an excuse to beat up Jim, I think, and Jim wasn't going to give him the.
Yeah. Okay, so what were we talking about? I think we trailed off on like quite a few segues there. Well, if it works. So, yeah.
I suppose. So,
But yeah, SmackDown, I really enjoyed it.
I liked it.
Yeah,
So,
it was mostly the beginning with Kevin Owens. That put me in a good mood for the whole show. It is astounding how much a great opening segment can do for the rest of the feel of a show. And also Shinsuke Nakamura versus Finn Balor. Like, I mean, I know it was a non-title match, but the fact that it was happening at all and that it was a pretty good match was, you know, I was happy about that. Yeah.
yeah.
Nikki Cross got a win, all good there.
Indeed.
Yeah. I don't have many complaints to make about SmackDown.
Yeah, well, maybe we should move on to the predictions right now.
Yeah, right.
I don't know the matches happening at the pay-per-view,
I'll
so
get the card up.
Yeah, please get the card up so I even know what's going on.
Yeah. Is Ian about? Do you want me to... Shall we try him?
Try pinging him. You can try pinging him if you want.
How do you do that?
I don't know. Just message him, I guess.
Yeah, let's see. Ian Blue. Huh. Go to call. I'll try him one more time. Let's see.
Okay.
Ring. He will either answer or he won't. We'll get his... If not, we'll get his predictions after.
Okay.
Okay, so... For the time being... Right. I'm gonna go in reverse order from the Wikipedia table because they've put the main event first. I think that's only fitting that we go in reverse order for that. So, the Raw Tag Team title match, the Usos challenging the Revival. Who have you got and why?
I honestly don't care either way, but I expect the Revival to retain.
Yeah, I agree. The Revival made a big fuss and were on the point of leaving, as I understand, and it seems like they were given the titles to sort of placate them.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right? I don't know. I've only ever seen it written. But it seemed like they gave them the titles to keep them happy. Ian says, you guys go ahead. I'm still in the middle of it. Alright. Okay, we are, in fact, in the prediction phase. Why did I say that aloud? Okay. Right, but yeah, I agree. I don't... And also, the Revival only recently won them. Relatively recently. So I don't see them losing them yet.
Okay, next match.
Yeah. Braun Strowman versus Bobby Lashley in a last man standing match.
I'm going to say Braun.
I agree. I've got to give it to Braun. It just seems like the natural conclusion, doesn't it?
Well, again, it just seems like another feud for Strowman to just plow through at this point.
Yeah, they've got it down to a formula at this point, haven't they?
Yeah.
Okay, US title Ricochet versus AJ Styles.
I've got Ricochet.
I'm going to say AJ Styles.
Okay.
Because Ricochet has only just won the US title, but I think that his feud with AJ Styles is too good to end with one challenge. So I'm thinking maybe they trade the title a bit.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Okay.
going by what I hope there rather than what I honestly think is going to happen. I think Ricochet is more likely to win. I'm going with AJ because I want him to. Honestly.
Okay. Right, moving on to the next match.
Aleister Black versus Cesaro in a singles match.
I'm going to say Alistair.
I agree. It just seems more likely. He has less momentum, and
Yeah.
he has the enigma factor in that he's been having all those cryptic promos and vignettes. Sorry, just cryptic vignettes. He hasn't really had many in-ring promos, or any at all. Indeed.
Hmm.
So yeah, we're in agreement with everything except the US title match so far. The SmackDown Tag Team title match, triple threat. Daniel Bryan and Rowan defending against the New Day and Heavy Machinery.
I'm going to go on a whim and I'm going to say Heavy Machinery
Oh,
again.
I can see it happening, but I don't know. I want the New Day to win just because I think it would be cool for Kofi to be WWE champion and the other two to be tag team champions. Even if it didn't last long, I think that would be a cool thing to have happen. But I don't know how likely it is. Especially since they've been building up Heavy Machinery as like a really formidable tag team lately, unless I'm very much mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also Daniel Bryan and Rowan, like Daniel Bryan's promo skills are off the charts, so they might want to keep the title belt around him. This is one of the more unpredictable ones, in my opinion, because
I agree.
yeah, they might see it as too soon to put the belts on Heavy Machinery, but also it seems like they might. Oh, but you're going with Heavy Machinery. I'm gonna go with yeah, I'll agree with you. I'm gonna go with Heavy Machinery. I don't know. That's the one that feels more likely to me. Call it a gut feeling.
Hmm. Okay then.
Sorry, I seem to be getting a lot of phone notifications at once, and I can't see it to silence it. Right, next match. Cruiserweight title, Drew Gulak versus Tony Nese.
I don't know. I'm going to say
I
Gulak.
am also going to say Gulak because he only just won it at the last pay-per-view. They very rarely lose on their first defense, do they? Yeah.
It would be weird if they did.
Yeah. Handicap match for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus Bayley.
Okay, the sad thing is I've got three scenarios how this ends.
Yeah.
Miscommunication, Bailey wins. Nikki does all the work, Alexa wins.
Yeah.
Miscommunication happens and Nikki accidentally wins.
Those are the three ways it seems like this is more likely to go. I agree.
This is the hardest one for me to pick, to be honest, purely because of the way the story could go. Because if Nikki wins, it means that she'll do the whole, no, we're both tag team champions, and we're both a women's champion, and then Alexa will like try and take the belt from her or force her into a match.
Yeah. Well, of those
something.
three scenarios, I'm gonna guess miscommunication. Bayley wins.
I'm gonna be adventurous here. I'm gonna put Nikki.
Okay. All right. Well, that'd be interesting to see.
All right then. So now go on. So go on. Who
The
you think? Who do you think?
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Bailey. Yeah.
All right. So move on to the next match.
Kofi Kingston versus Samoa Joe for the WWE title. The main event, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm gonna go and say I think Kofi's gonna retain.
I agree. Samoa Joe's on Raw. I mean, I know we're not supposed to care about that at this point, but I think it does still matter to a point.
It is an important factor you've got to take into consideration.
Also, there's the fact that Joe has had all of the momentum going in. There's far too much in his favour.
Also, I'm also just going to throw this out there: is that Joe? This happens to Joe all the time. He's on another brand, and every time he faces someone on another brand where a title or a big thing is involved, he loses.
Yeah, I mean,
so forgive me for my lack of optimism.
Yeah. And I touched on not capitalizing soon enough earlier. This is why I'm a little bit worried for Joe, because this has happened to him a bunch of times. So I don't want Kofi to lose the title, but I think if there is a time to pull the trigger for Joe, it would probably be now.
Yeah. Right. Any other?
And Kofi's mega popular no matter what happens. He can lose the title now and win it back again down the line. Yeah. So I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world if Kofi were to drop the title on Sunday.
Okay.
But I don't think he will. My prediction is that Kofi will retain.
Okay, so next.
The tag match. Taker and Roman Reigns versus Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre. No holds barred. I have never cared so little for an Undertaker match.
I'm gonna say Undertaker. I'm gonna say Undertaker and Roman.
Yeah.
Hold on, listen, hold on. Yeah.
Anything sorry for dinner?
No, I was just gonna go out and get some in a minute. Okay. Right. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with Undertaker and Roman winning purely because Roman's been on the losing end way too long. Undertaker's turned up, and they're gonna want a redemption thing for that whole,
Yeah.
losing.
Yeah, they're not gonna have Undertaker lose after the Saudi Arabia debacle. This card doesn't give us much to work with for diverse prediction contests, does it? No.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Taker, Roman Reigns. But it's going to be Drew that eats the pin.
Okay. I'm gonna say.
Let's make it a little more interesting.
Now, here's what I think, and this is just gonna be another thing, an extra point if this happens.
Yeah.
If Kevin Owens interferes.
Yeah. Extra point if Kevin Owens interferes. Yeah, I'll take that bet.
And Shane will take the pin.
Okay, I don't see that happening, to be honest, because Shane is being treated as like some sort of golden god at the moment.
But what if Kevin Owens interferes, stunners him, and costs him the match with the Undertaker?
Yes, that would be something. Yeah, all right, I'll take that bet on both counts. Okay, you will get an extra point for each of those things that happen if they do. All right, and we have the main event: a tag team, a last chance winner to take. What does last chance mean?
Basically, it means that if Baron Corbin and
is it one of those? Oh, I haven't seen one of those in a while. Is that one of those where Baron Corbin loses, he doesn't get another shot as long as Seth's champion?
Basically, yeah, unless Seth gets severely injured and then it goes on to someone else.
Yeah, or loses the title, obviously. That hasn't been a stipulation in quite a while, so cool. I'm looking forward to this being over. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. They're a couple, don't you know? Rollins versus Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans. for like winner take all for both the Universal and Raw Women's Championships. No one actually thinks Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans are going to win, do they?
I don't think they're going to win.
No. It's practically a foregone conclusion. Like, there's no reason to put the belts on either Baron Corbin or Lacey Evans, in my opinion. Like, the immediate shock factor would be there, but after that, what have you got out of it? It's like,
Corbin isn't. Here's the thing. Corbin and Lacey are both not very good. I mean, Corbin has his finisher, but that's really all he has, and Lacey just has a gimmick that really doesn't work.
yeah. So, to recap, we both agree that the Rival and Braun Strowman will win their respective matches. We're opposed on Ricochet, AJ Styles. We agree that Aleister Black will probably beat Cesaro. I went for the New Day, didn't I, in the tag match? Triple threat. Yeah. And you went for Heavy Machinery. So we both agree that there will be a title change at the very least. We agree on Drew Gulak retaining. There's enough diversity in our predictions to at least have this be an interesting event.
I agree.
Yeah. The handicap match for the women's title, we differed on. We agree that Kofi's probably going to retain the WWE title, that Undertaker and Roman Reigns are going to win the tag match, and that the Universal and Raw women's titles aren't going anywhere for the time being. Alright.
Yeah. Well, that's really all there is to it.
Right. What is your opinion regarding a potential Brock Lesnar appearance / cash-in?
I don't think he's going to do it.
I don't either. Like, they're not going to do it on Extreme Rules of all things, are they?
Unless they get very desperate.
Well, they might. To segue into another talking point.
Hey, maybe they can make it a triple threat tag team match and have Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar turn up.
What, and Paul Heyman wins the Raw Women's Championship? That's exactly the kind of thing Vince might do, though.
Harvey Whippleman did it.
That is exactly the kind of thing that might happen in WWE.
Yeah. Well, I hate to cut this short, but I've got to go out and get dinner in a minute. So
okay. I was just gonna. Okay, I'll wrap up. Shortly. I was just gonna segue into the fact that WWE kind of have their back to the wall at the moment, and not just because of AEW. Like, Fox is pissed off at them, and I'm pretty sure. Well, at least if what you told me is to be believed, they are, right? Yeah. And they would be with or without AEW, so WWE are probably, if they have any sense, feeling the pressure right now. So,
well, the thing is, right now, it's what it's to name one of my favorite South Park episodes, A Quest for Ratings.
Yeah.
Because you see, the thing is, the Fox deal relies solely on them being able to keep their ratings to a certain degree, which they are down.
Apparently, they're way down.
Put it this way. I recommend you, Ollie, if you ever get a chance, and I've said this multiple times, I know you've got a lot of things to watch, but look up WWE in 1995.
I have heard many things about WWE in 1995.
I seriously suggest, though, look that up and see how ridiculous it was, because that is what WWE is right now.
Okay. And with that, I think we have covered everything.
We have covered everything this week in wrestling. Nothing major has happened.
Yeah.
In any other company at this point. Although WWE are doing a lot of time promoting the indie company Evolve.
Ah, cool.
Mainly because a lot of their NXT guys actually used to work in Evolve, like AJ Styles, EC3. Speaking of, EC3 apparently is in a mini faction now. By the way, with Bobby Roode and Bobby Lashley. Apparently, I think it's it's Bobby Roode and someone. The main event men or something.
Okay. Cool.
I don't know if that will be a thing.
Yeah, well, I would
But
be curious to see that. But yeah, right, that's it from us for now. If you wanted to do a watch along of Extreme Rules, I would have to do it on Twitch, but I am not opposed to doing so.
yeah, we could do that. I guess I've got nothing else to do on Sunday.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you know nearer the time. I mean, it's entirely possible I'll just want to go to bed and watch it in the morning.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe if we're asleep for most of Sunday, we'll see.
Yeah. Right, well, I won't keep you any longer then, Sam. That's it from us.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.